The Founding Fathers, flawed and fascinating, are more than just history book figures. They were humans too, with secrets, scandals, and even affairs. The Filthy Lives of Founding Fathers cast. That's what we're diving into today. Welcome to Disturbing History Mysteries. Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers of the United States, was not just a politician, he was also involved in a controversial extramarital affair. This means he was married to one person, but had a romantic relationship with someone else. Hamilton's affair was no secret. It all began when his wife was away during the summer. He got romantically involved with a woman named Maria Reynolds, who was already married to another man. As the affair continued, Maria's husband discovered what was happening, and instead of keeping it quiet, he demanded money from Hamilton to keep the affair a secret. What's surprising is that Hamilton didn't end the affair when he was asked for money. He continued the relationship with Maria. Eventually, things got so complicated that Hamilton had to confess to the public about the affair. This was a moment of great embarrassment for both him and his wife. In today's perspective, we might view Alexander Hamilton as more of a victim in this affair because he claimed that Maria had seduced him. This is quite different from how people saw it back in his time. So, it's a story that has evolved and changed over the years. John Adams. John Adams was a founding father of the United States, which means he played a big part in making the country. He was married to Abigail Adams, and people usually think of them as a couple deeply in love. But their life together wasn't always smooth. John had an important job in politics, and that meant he had to be away from home quite a bit. To keep their connection strong, they wrote letters to each other to share their love and feelings, sort of like old-fashioned texting. But there was a time when John had to be away for a really long time, and that's when things got tricky. While he was gone, Abigail had a passionate affair with someone else. She fell in love with another person and had a romantic relationship with them. This was a tough situation for John and Abigail, and it created a lot of problems and stress in their marriage. So, even though many people see them as a loving couple, they also had their fair share of difficulties and issues, just like many couples do. It shows that even famous people in history had their ups and downs in their relationships. Ben Franklin. Let's dive into the intriguing love life of Ben Franklin, one of the most brilliant minds of his time. He didn't just have a sharp intellect, he had a colorful and adventurous romantic history. You see, Franklin had a thing for older women. He thought they made the best partners. In a piece he wrote called Advice to a Young Man on the Choice of a Mistress, he openly shared his preference for women with more life experience. Now, even though he was married to a woman named Deborah Red, that didn't stop him from having lots of affairs. He was especially attracted to French women and had romantic flings with quite a few of them. In his memoirs, Franklin wrote about his romantic adventures. For example, he left an apprenticeship in Boston after getting a woman pregnant. He also expressed regret for not marrying his common-law wife. So, even though he played a significant role in American history, his unconventional relationships led to criticism, especially in the 19th century. In a nutshell, Ben Franklin was not just a wise man. He was also quite the romantic adventurer, with a soft spot for older women and a taste for French romance. George Washington. George Washington is often thought of as a really good and honorable person, kind of like a hero. But guess what? He had some secrets too. One of these secrets is about whether he could have children of his own. Here's the deal. George was like a very loving father to Martha's children from her first marriage. They were like his own kids. But the big question is whether he could have kids with Martha. Some people wonder if he couldn't because he might have gotten hurt during a scandalous incident with a married lady. And there's another interesting part to the story. While George cared a lot about his wife Martha, it seemed like he had a special place in his heart for another lady named Sally Fairfax. But because they were from different backgrounds, they couldn't be together, and that's really sad. This unfulfilled love makes George's life story even more fascinating. So, when we think about George Washington, we don't just see a hero. We also see a man with some mysteries and a big heart full of emotions. Just like in real life, even famous people have their own stories and secrets. Gouverneur Morris. Gouverneur Morris might not be as famous as some of the other founding fathers, but he played a really important part in making the Constitution of the United States. What's fascinating about him is how open he was about his romantic adventures. You see, he wrote about them in great detail in his private journals. Now, back in his time, most people didn't talk openly about their love lives. They often used secret codes or kept everything hidden. But Governor Morris was different. He wasn't shy about it at all. He wasn't afraid to talk about his affairs. One of the most interesting parts is his love affair with a married lady who lived near the king in the Louvre. The Louvre is this grand palace in France. What makes their relationship really captivating is that they both loved showing off their affection. They didn't hide their feelings behind closed doors. They were quite bold about it, even in public. So, Governor Morris's unique way of being open and unashamed about his love life really sets him apart from many others in history. He wasn't afraid to be himself, and that's something special to remember about him. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson's love life is like a puzzle that many people still talk about today. You see, many folks believe he had a special connection with Sally Hemings, who was a slave on his property. They think they had a romantic affair, which means they were more than just friends. Some people even say that Jefferson gave presents to Sally when they both lived in a place called Paris. But we don't have all the tiny details, so it's a bit of a mystery. Now here's where it gets interesting. Some folks think that Jefferson and Sally's relationship was more than just a simple love story. They believe it was kind of like a different type of arrangement called a concubine. That's a tricky word, but it means a relationship where a person might not be legally married, but they're more than friends. They share a special bond. So when we talk about Thomas Jefferson's love life, it's like a story with many different pieces, and people have different opinions about what those pieces mean. Some people think it's a romantic tale, while others say it's more complicated. And this debate continues even today. It's a part of history that keeps us curious and thinking. James Buchanan. James Buchanan, the 15th President of the United States, is linked to some interesting rumors about his personal life. Some folks believe that he might have been one of the first presidents who were gay, which means he had romantic feelings for people of the same gender. The person at the center of these rumors is Senator William Rufus King, and he wasn't just a regular friend to Buchanan. They spent a lot of time together, and get this, they even lived in the White House as housemates. That's like sharing a big fancy home. Their friendship was so close that people began calling them special nicknames like Aunt Fancy and Miss Nancy. In the olden days, these names were used to talk about men who liked other men. All these things make us wonder and ask questions about Buchanan's romantic life. It's like a secret from the past that keeps us thinking and wondering. So, history is full of stories that can make us imagine and learn new things. Thank you for coming along on this adventure on the Filthy Lives of Founding Fathers cast. History isn't always simple, and these tales show us that even famous people had their own problems and secrets. If you loved the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until we meet again, keep discovering history's fascinating stories on disturbing history mysteries.